Five Books of Moses, new translation with introductions, commentary, and notes by Everett Fox. Yahweh said to Avram, "Go you forth from your land, from your kindred, from your father's house, to the land that I will let you see. I will make a great nation of you, and will give you blessing, and will make your name great. Be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. He who curses you, I will damn. All the clans of the soil will find blessing through you." Avram went, as Yahweh had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. Avram was 5 years and 70 years old when he went out of Haran. Avram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, all their property that they had gained, and the persons whom they had made their own in Haran. And they went out to go to the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Avram passed through the land as far as the place of Shechem, as far as the oak of Moreh. Now the Canaanite was then in the land. Yahweh was seen by Avram, and said, "I give this land to your seed." He built a slaughter site there to Yahweh, who had been seen by him. He moved on from there to the mountain country east of Bethel, and spread his tent, Bethel toward the sea, and Ai toward the east. There he built a slaughter site to Yahweh, and called out the name of Yahweh. Then Avram journeyed on, continually journeying to the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, and Avram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was heavy in the land. It was when he came near to Egypt that he said to Sarai his wife, "Now here I know well that you are a woman fair to look at. It will be when the Egyptians see you and say, 'She is his wife,' that they will kill me. But you they will allow to live. Pray, say that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me on your account, that I myself may live thanks to you." It was when Avram came to Egypt that the Egyptians saw how exceedingly fair the woman was. When Pharaoh's courtiers saw him, they praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken away into Pharaoh's house. It went well with Avram on her account. Sheep and oxen, donkeys, servants and maids, she-asses and camels became his. But Yahweh plagued Pharaoh with great plagues, and also his household, because of Sarai, Avram's wife. Pharaoh had Avram called and said, "What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she is your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister'? So I took her for myself as a wife, but now here is your wife. Take her and go." So Pharaoh put men in charge of him, who escorted him and his wife and all that was his. Avram traveled up from Egypt, he and his wife and all that was his, and Lot with him to the Negev. And Avram was exceedingly heavily laden with livestock, with silver and with gold. He went on his journeyings from the Negev as far as Bethel, as far as the place where his tent had been at the first, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the slaughter site that he had made there at the beginning. There Avram called out the name of Yahweh. Now also Lot, who had gone with Avram, had sheep and oxen and tents, and the land could not support them to settle together, for their property was so great that they were not able to settle together. So there was a quarrel between the herdsmen of Avram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. Now the Canaanite and the Perizzite were then settled in the land. Avram said to Lot, "Pray, let there be no quarreling between me and you, between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brother men. Is not all the land before you? Pray, part from me. If to the left, then I to the right. If to the right, then I to the left." Lot lifted up his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan. How well watered was it all, before Yahweh brought ruin upon Sodom and Amorah. Like Yahweh's garden, like the land of Egypt, as you come toward Zoar. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Jordan. Lot journeyed eastward, and they parted. each man from the other. Avram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled in the cities of the plain, pitching his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful before Yahweh. Yahweh said to Avram, after Lot had parted from him, "Pray, lift up your eyes and see from the place where you are, to the north, to the Negev, to the east, to the sea. Indeed, all the land that you see I give to you, and to your seed for the ages. I will make your seed like the dust of the ground, so that if man were able to measure the dust of the ground, so too could your seed be measured. Up, walk about through the land in its length and in its breadth, for I give it to you." Avram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are by Hebron. There he built a slaughter site to Yahweh. Now it was in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedor Laomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goyim. They prepared for battle against Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Amorah, Shinav, king of Admah, Shemever, king of Zephoim, and the king of Bela, that is now Zoar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, limestone, that is now the Sea of Salt. For 12 years they had been subservient to Kedor Laomer, and in the 13th year they had revolted. But then in the 14th year came Kedor Laomer and the kings who were with him. They struck the Rephaites and Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzites, and Ham, the Emites, and Shaveh Kiryataim, and the Horites, in their hill country of Seir near El Paran, which is by the wilderness. As they returned, they came to En Mishpat, Judgment Spring, that is now Kadesh, and struck all the territory of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, who were settled at Hatzatzon Tamar. Then out marched the king of Sodom, the king of Amorah, the king of Admah, the king of Zephoim, and the king of Bela, that is now Zoar. They set their ranks against them in war in the valley of Siddim, against Kedor Laomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against the 5. Now the valley of Siddim is pit after pit of bitumen. And when the kings of Sodom and Amorah fled, they flung themselves therein, while those who remained fled to the hill country. Now they took all the property of Sodom and Amorah, and all their food, and went away. And they took Lot and all his property, the son of Avram's brother, and went away, for he had settled in Sodom. One who escaped came and told Avram, the Hebrew. He was dwelling by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner. They were Avram's covenant allies. When Avram heard that his brother had been taken prisoner, he drew out his retainers, his houseborn slaves, 18 and 300, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He split up his forces against them in the night, he and his servants, and struck them, and pursued them as far as Hovah, which is to the north of Damascus. But he returned all the property, and he also returned his brother Lot and his property, and also the women and the other people. The king of Sodom went out to meet him upon his return from the strike against Kedor Laomer, and against the kings that were with him to the valley of Shaveh, that is now the king's valley. Now Melchizedek, king of Shalem, brought out bread and wine, for he was priest of God Most High, and gave him blessing, and said, "Blessed be Avram, by God Most High, founder of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your oppressors into your hand." He gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Avram, "Give me the persons and the property, take for yourself." Avram said to the king of Sodom, "I raised my hand in the presence of Yahweh, God Most High, founder of heaven and earth. If from a thread to a sandal strap, if I should take from anything that is yours, so that you should not say, I made Avram rich. Nothing for me, only what the lads have consumed, and the share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their share. After these events, Yahweh's word came to Avram in a vision, saying, Be not afraid, Avram. I am a delivering shield to you. Your reward is exceedingly great. Avram said, My Lord, Yahweh, what would you give me? For I am going to die accursed, and the son domestic of my house is Damascus, Eliezer. And Avram said further, Here, to me you have not given seed. Here, the son of my house must be my heir. But here, Yahweh's word came to him, saying, This one shall not be heir to you. Rather, the one that goes out from your own body, he shall be heir to you. He brought him outside and said, Pray, look toward the heavens and count the stars. Can you count them? And he said to him, So shall your seed be. Now he trusted in Yahweh, and he deemed it as righteous merit on his part. Now he said to him, I am Yahweh, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans, to give you this land to inherit it. But he said, My Lord, Yahweh, by what shall I know that I will inherit it? He said to him, Fetch me a calf of 3, a she-goat of 3, a ram of 3, a turtle dove, and a fledgling. He fetched him all these. He halved them down the middle, putting each one's half toward its neighbor. But the birds he did not have. Vultures descended upon the carcasses, but Avram drove them back. Now it was, when the sun was coming in, that deep slumber fell upon Avram, and here, fright and great darkness falling upon him. And he said to Avram, You must know, yes, know, that your seed will be sojourners in a land not theirs. They will put them in servitude and afflict them for 400 years. But the nation to which they are in servitude, I will bring judgment on them. And after that they will go out with great property. As for you, you will go to your fathers in peace. You will be buried at a good ripe age. But in 4th generation they will return here. For the punishment of the Amorite has not been paid in full heretofore. Now it was, when the sun had come in, that there was night blackness. And here a smoking oven, a fiery torch that crossed between those pieces. On that day, Yahweh cut a covenant with Avram, saying, I give this land to your seed, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenite and the Kenizzite, and the Cadmonite and the Hittite, and the Perizzite and the Rephaites, and the Amorite and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite and the Jebusite. Now Sarai, Avram's wife, had not borne him children. She had an Egyptian maid. Her name was Hagar. Sarai said to Avram, Now here, Yahweh has obstructed me from bearing. Pray, come in to my maid. Perhaps I may be built up with sons through her. Avram hearkened to Sarai's voice. Sarai, Avram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian woman, her maid, at the end of 10 years of Avram's being settled in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Avram as a wife for him. He came in to Hagar, and she became pregnant. But when she saw that she was pregnant, her mistress became of light worth in her eyes. Sarai said to Avram, The wrong done me is upon you. I myself gave my maid into your bosom, but now that she sees that she is pregnant, I have become of light worth in her eyes. May Yahweh see justice done between me and you. Avram said to Sarai, Here, your maid is in your hand. Deal with her however seems good in your eyes. Sarai afflicted her, so that she had to flee from her. But Yahweh's messenger found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. He said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence do you come? Whither are you going? She said, I am fleeing from Sarai, my mistress. Yahweh's messenger said to her, Return to your mistress and let yourself be afflicted under her hand. And Yahweh's messenger said to her, I will make your seed many. Yes, many. It will be too many to count. And Yahweh's messenger said to her, Here, you are pregnant. You will bear a son. Call his name Yishmael. God hearkens. For God has hearkened to your being afflicted. He shall be a wild ass of a man, his hand against all, hand of all against him. Yet in the presence of all his brothers shall he dwell. Now she called the name of Yahweh, the one who was speaking to her, You, God of seeing. For she said, Have I actually gone on seeing here, after his seeing me? Therefore the well was called Well of the Living One who sees me. Here it is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Avram a son, and Avram called the name of the son whom Hagar bore Yishmael. Avram was 80 years and 6 years old when Hagar bore Yishmael to Avram. Now when Avram was 90 years and 9 years old, Yahweh was seen by Avram and said to him, I am God Shaddai. Walk in my presence and be wholehearted. I set my covenant between me and you. I will make you exceedingly, exceedingly many. Avram fell upon his face. God spoke with him, saying, As for me, here my covenant is with you, so that you will become the father of a throng of nations. No longer shall your name be called Avram, but rather shall your name be Avraham, for I will make you Av Hamon Goyim, father of a throng of nations. I will cause you to bear fruit exceedingly, exceedingly. I will make nations of you. Kings will go out from you. I establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you, throughout their generations, as a covenant for the ages, to be God to you and to your seed after you. I will give to you and to your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as a holding for the ages, and I will be God to them. God said to Abraham, As for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your seed after you, throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you are to keep, between me and your seed after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, so that it may serve as a sign of the covenant between me and you. At 8 days old, every male among you shall be circumcised throughout your generations, whether houseborn or brought with money from any foreigner who is not your seed. Circumcised, yes, circumcised, shall be your houseborn and your money bought through bought slaves, so that my covenant may be in your flesh as a covenant for the ages. But a foreskinned male who does not have the foreskin of his flesh circumcised, that person shall be cut off from his kinspeople. He has violated my covenant. God said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, for Sarah, princess, is her name. I will bless her, and I will give you a son from her. I will bless her, so that she becomes nations. Kings of peoples shall come from her. But Abraham fell on his face and laughed. He said in his heart, To 100-year-old man shall there be children born? Or shall 90-year-old Sarah give birth? Abraham said to God, If only Ishmael might live in your presence. God said, Nevertheless, Sarah, your wife, is to bear you a son. You shall call his name Yitzhak. He laughs. I will establish my covenant with him as a covenant for the ages, for his seed after him. And as for Yishmael, I hearken to you. Here I will make him blessed. I will make him bear fruit. I will make him many, exceedingly, exceedingly. He will beget 12 tribal leaders, and I will make a great nation of him. But my covenant I will establish with Yitzhak, whom Sarah will bear to you at this set time another year hence. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, God went up from beside Abraham. Abraham took Yishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and all those bought with his money, all the males among Abraham's household people, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskins on that same day, as God had spoken to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised, and Yishmael his son was 13 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. On that same day were circumcised Abraham and Yishmael his son, and all his household people, whether houseborn or money bought from a foreigner, were circumcised with him.